Deragon of Stanton Chase Los Angeles. This is the Stanton Chase Los Angeles Executive Search podcast. I'm joined by my partner, Bill Brewer, and we're taking over the show today to talk about the USC Supply Chain Excellence Conference, which was held August 11th and the 12th. And we enjoyed the kickoff of this with a VIP reception, which was held out in the LA Harbor on a beautiful boat with food and drinks flowing. So we're going to talk about the issues that we heard about in supply chain, and I'll let Bill introduce himself right now.
Thanks, Pete. Yes, Bill Brewer out of the Los Angeles office, and as Peter had mentioned, we had an incredible time at the USC Supply Chain Summit, and it did begin with a harbor cruise, and it was just fascinating to go through the harbor and watch, what most people would say is the end of the day as it was getting towards sunset hours, heavy activity going on in the Long Beach Harbor, feeding over to the LA Harbor area of unloading ships and watching some ships headed back out to sea, clearly empty or with lightweight cargo, at least heading back out to bring back goods into the United States eventually.
And Bill and I are going to be sharing some statistics that we heard from both the executive directors of the Port of LA and the Port of Los Angeles, or Port of Long Beach, both of whom were great speakers at the conference. We're also just going to deal with some of the highlights, and the takeaways. I think there are four major takeaways from this conference. There's inflation and fuel prices, which everybody's familiar with. There's supply chain and logistics. Everybody knows about the disruptions that have happened from COVID-19. A lot of those challenges continue with port closures in China and in the United States. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the regulations and legislation that everyone has to deal with. And we're struggling to adjust to a lot of the mandates of the U.S. government. We're also looking at labor problems, because there's not only challenges with availability of labor, but the cost. And, one of the things that came up in conversation was how supply chain used to be a very esoteric subject, but it seems to be the core subject at a lot of cocktail parties. You get cornered because you might come across as a subject matter expert. And I've certainly developed a lot of expertise over the last 3 years as the global practice leader of Stanton Chase in supply chain, logistics, and transportation. But I'm just fascinated by the fact that LA Harbor and Port of Long Beach, who share the same waters in Southern California, have managed to reduce the number of waiting ships outside the port from 109 to just 9 as of last week, which is amazing because the ports continue to hit records of the amount of volume that they're handling every month. So things do seem to be sorted out. And one of the things we learned was that some of these congestion issues have been transferred to other areas because the ships ultimately have to offload. And now a lot of the pressure is shifted to the East Coast, where I think it was reported that even the Port of Savannah has 40 ships waiting, and they've only got one huge dock to accommodate these ships. So, Bill, do you have anything to start with that we'd like to look at between inflation and fuel, supply chain and logistics, regulations and legislation, or labor?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to chat a little bit about just what we're seeing, the spiking of inflation and how it's impacting the fuel costs. I've had clients in this space who have talked about contracts that they've entered into 1 or 2 years ago, expecting diesel fuel to be at a certain rate, and it's gone dramatically high, and the impact it is having on their business to eroding away profitability, and in some cases, operating under these contracts in the red.
Sure.
Needed to fulfill these contracts.
Well, and truck drivers tend to be small businessmen, and there are 17,000 truck drivers that serve the Southern California Harbor network. I can't imagine. I own a diesel truck myself, and I can't imagine filling a truck with 200 or 300 gallons of fuel when it's at $7 or higher. We've got a little bit of relief on the pricing right now, but these are just things that have to be ultimately passed on to consumers. Consumers are feeling it. Statistically, we know that the rate of inflation in the United States is above 9%. It's even anticipated to be as high in double digits in Europe because of some of their challenges with getting gas from Russia. But I've even seen predictions of 18% or higher inflation in Europe, and we're already seeing specific items that are at that level of inflation. So, another underlying conversation in the conference based on a lot of these revolving economic statistics are we in a recession? And if we do, is it going to be a soft landing? So
yeah, and the other interesting thing I just wanted to add in on just the comments of inflation is what's happening in companies around paying its employees. So companies traditionally set up merit increase budgets, pay for performance programs to be just a little bit ahead of inflation for an average number. So here in the United States, having inflation close to zero, we've been seeing 3 to 4% merit increase budgets. So when we're talking 9% in the United States, or Europe approaching going into double digit inflation, we're going to see that across merit increase budgets as well.
Correct. Yeah, and Bill and I have experienced in some of the recent searches that we've completed that the competitiveness for candidates that are considering jobs through us oftentimes have competitive offers. And it really puts a mandate on our clients to probably rush the hiring of a really desirable candidate sooner than they might. We try not to short circuit the thoroughness of vetting, but when we're doing that, we're having to do it, either early in the morning, late at night, and we're making sure that we understand what the candidates' other opportunities are. The clients are also having to pay upwards of 10, 20, sometimes even 30% more than they budgeted for a top quality candidate because they need to fill the role and they know that this person can do it. But the market's just demanding a premium. And I don't know if that's going to persist or if it'll lighten up if inflation pulls off. So, one of the shortages nationwide is for truckers. We know that there are 80,000 short of the needed truckers nationwide, and there are all kinds of innovations being employed to get younger people certified to be truck drivers, to get more women involved in the truck driving profession. And we are hearing of some pretty handsome compensation for truck drivers, upwards of $100,000 per year in income. So I think the marketing of that and the deployment of ways to get these people trained and in the driver's seat is going to alleviate that shortage, but it is a serious one right now.
Yeah, I found it fascinating that they were also talking about, from drivers and Port of LA dock workers working an average of 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. Where I think most people think of jobs being in a 5-day work week kind of thing. And another comment out there that we picked up on was the impact of California Assembly Bill 5, AB 5, with
independent contractors.
Independent contractors. Yeah, Pete, do you want to chat a little bit about that?
Well, sure. So AB 5 was deployed in 2020, and as a firm, I won't go into detail, but we had to respond to that too. So there was a huge conversion of independent contractors to employees. Truckers, by the same notion, they actually did a freeze out of their labor up in Oakland for several days, which was hugely disruptive because the Port of Oakland was unable to get their goods shipped. But AB 5 applies to truck drivers who want to take advantage of the freedom of not being an employee and all the paperwork and the tax issues that have to do with independent contractors. It's oftentimes more entrepreneurial. It gives them more flexibility, and I think that a lot of the industry groups that have lobbyists are able to get exceptions, but truck drivers are not one of them. And I think it also affects executive search and accounting firms, even real estate firms, who might be at risk of a Department of Labor audit that could put them out of business overnight. So we all have to be aware of the risks of not complying with AB5, but I think that some leeway will be given to truck drivers in the future if they use their the power of work stoppages and basically labor cartels. So all the tools are being used to keep goods on the road. And another issue that is constraining truck drivers is that they're modernizing the fleet, because clean diesel trucks are, by the end of this year, are going to be mandated. I believe it's 2019 or 1999 or newer trucks have to be.
I'm sorry, 2010.
Oh, it's 2010.
Engines.
Okay.
Yeah, 2010 engines or newer.
So that'll take a lot of trucks off the road. Bill, maybe we should have a separate business, buying these older trucks and shipping them to other states that are still allowing them to roll. But, these are all problems that in many cases, especially when it comes to the efficiency of finding truck chassis and scheduling drivers and picking up containers, software and technology is going a long way to solving these problems. And we met a lot of the innovators and software companies that are having a great success in really applying their products and services to an antiquated industry. I mean, it's, the container business has made bulk shipping efficient, but by the same token, when you're dealing with 1 million containers a month, that stuff has to hit the rails. It's got to go to warehouses. We know that the warehouse availability is about 1% in Southern California. So these places are packed. I think Gene Soroka mentioned that there's 1 billion pounds of almonds sitting in warehouses that can't get out. And a lot of that's exported. So that's going to be, filling containers and going overseas where the demand is obviously high. But, it impacts literally every person in the economy, for the shortage of goods, the cost of goods. And there's a lot of people that are concentrating on creating the solutions to this.
Yeah, one of the interesting upcoming trends that we heard is kind of a common theme from several speakers was machine learning and artificial intelligence really being needed in this particular space, that it is antiquated, paper intensive kind of processes, and so there's a lot of being able to move forward. We had an opportunity as to hear one of the several guest speakers from Honeywell, and he's actually the SVP and Chief Supply Chain Officer. And I just thought it was fascinating that he made a comment that he's their first one. And this is a role that I think we're going to see many more companies really declare as a key strategic role that belongs in the C-suite is a Chief Supply Chain Officer.
Right. Yeah, I was actually fascinated by that talk. The gentleman's name is Torsten Pils. And naturally, I'm trying to get an introduction to him so we can talk further about Honeywell's, very, very broad business. They've got divisions that are dealing with everything from automation of buildings to aerospace manufacture and parts. And he had, 3 or 4 other major manufacturing operations. And I just can't imagine the complexity of his job. But fascinating talk. That was very enjoyable. So what panels did you attend, Bill? I know that we divided and conquered in our efforts to meet people at the conference, but which ones did you enjoy?
Yes, well, there were several. There was, just kind of the financial impact. I attended a separate breakout session on that one and talking about the financials. Also about upskill, some topics and some breakout groups of upskilling the workforce.
Yeah, we went to that together. That was a very good one. And we met some people that were, dealing with labor issues and mentorship and, kind of growing your own. Sometimes recruiters overemphasize bringing in somebody that's highly equipped to take care of certain problems because recruiting is always looked at as an intervention. But sometimes companies are very effective at building their own and through mentorship programs they're able to do that. The other thing is, I think that they're turning to community colleges as a feeder system and supporting community colleges with some vocational training that creates younger people that are ready for the workforce, which is a great benefit. And we like to see that. I know Port of Long Beach is utilizing Long Beach City College in that way and support a lot of the programs there that feed employees that go into the port business.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was a great experience. This is the 10th annual supply chain conference that USC has hosted. I'm excited about number 11 next year. We've met just an incredible group of people at this event.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Nick Vias, who's just a tremendous person. He's the one that put this program on the map. He's a great promoter of USC and the education programs that are offered through the supply chain program. But he's made it an incredible conference. I think we were at capacity this year. We had to go virtual one year, but last year was also a great event, and we look forward to number 11. So thank you very much for listening in, and we enjoy sharing all these learnings from this conference, and look forward to the next video session with you all.
Please reach out to us if we could be of help with leadership solutions for your organization. But this has been great. Thank you.